Good evening. Welcome again to our program, Women to Women. I'm Carol Paz, your hostess, and as we always promise, we have a very special lady for you to meet tonight. But first, for this first half of our program, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Vila Bass Deli and Cafe, home of Pete's famous and delicious Basque chorizo. We'd also like to thank Carpenter Nevada LLC, importer of very fine Portuguese olive oils, aged balsamic vinegar, and international health teas. So let's turn to our guest, Ruth Glass. Ruth, I want to welcome you and say thank you so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure.
You know, Ruth and I have not had much of a chance to meet, and that's kind of the way I like it, because we get to know people at the same time, the viewing audience as well as myself. So Ruth, we need to know from you, we're taping tonight here in Incline Village at the Sunshine Bakery and Deli, which is a first for us, and we're very pleased. We want to thank the Sunshine Deli very much for their hospitality. But we need to know a whole lot more about you. Help us understand, where do you come from? We don't yet want to know what you do at this present stage in your life.
It's the what's my line
right.
part.
Where did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Ojai, California, and Jackson Hole, Wyoming. My father was a teacher in a boarding school, a boys' boarding school.
Okay.
And my grandfather was a rancher. So we would spend the school years in Ojai and then pack up 6 horses, 3 children, 2 dogs, and a cat and drive across the Mojave to Jackson Hole, where we would work on Grandpa's ranch.
So you had what I would gather is some very fundamental lessons in learning how to get along with horses or with cattle. And the work ethic
absolutely
is a strong one in Jackson Hole. I was there as a child, took the ski lift during the summertime, and was really glad when I got down to the ground again. But it was a neat experience. What did a ranch help you? Do you have siblings as well?
I have 2 brothers. I'm the middle. There's one 3 years older and one 3 years younger.
Okay, so working on a ranch, what did you and your brothers come away with that you remember that are good lessons or fundamental basics that everybody could benefit from?
Well, I think anytime you have animals depending on you, you don't have the choice of deciding to do your chores or not. They require your time and attention. Yes. And I learned to ride at a very young age, and if you're going to be a small child on a large horse, you better learn how to control yourself as well as...
And learn how to control the horse
and develop a relationship with, because that works better.
I was going to ask you, did you ever have any kind of a serious fall from a horse?
Depends on what you call serious.
Well, for me,
I fell off a lot, but that's part of the learning how to get back on.
All right.
I did have one accident when I was 6, and a horse... that we were doing things we probably shouldn't have with this horse. My father had advised us against it, and we weren't paying attention. And I was run over. The horse ran away, and I was run over, and this thumb was smashed, and this finger, and this finger. And I was 6. When I was 12, I learned that if I'd been a boy, they would have amputated my thumb. So because I was a girl, they tried to keep it intact. So reverse sexism worked. Or sexism worked well in that particular case.
And so you have full use
of
them.
Absolutely.
What a wise decision that was to keep them.
Right.
But as a boy, they would have amputated.
They didn't think they could reconstruct it.
That's amazing. Okay,
so I contributed to medicine somewhere along the way.
Okay. So as you were growing up in both Jackson Hole and in California, what interest developed? Did you carry this interest for horses and ranching into your early teen years?
Oh, I competed in gymkhanas and horse shows until I graduated from high school. Right. So that was one thing. Family was very interested in sports and outdoors and camping and all those things. 2 brothers.
That's right.
But equally balanced with school and attention that way. And my family is a musical family, so we did a lot. I find that there's never a trip I take that I don't find it easy when I'm not traveling with horses, dogs, cats, and children.
So after high school, where did you head out to?
I went to college, upstate New York.
Where?
Wells College on Lake Cayuga.
Yes.
I
was just there about 4 weeks ago. Yes.
It's a beautiful part of the country.
Yes,
I wanted to go to an all-women's college in the East, so I applied only to all-women's schools. And
do you think your father's role in an all-boys school had anything to do with that decision?
Probably. The Eastern education part was an appeal, and because I grew up with all boys, That's been an advantage for me, playing sports and in business. I tend to know more how men think than the average woman.
Okay.
And so then I
That's
was
good.
interested in going to an all-girls, all-women's environment.
Well, okay, you went to a high school that was everybody, right?
I was co-ed through sophomore year. Then I went to a girls' boarding school north of San Francisco for 2 years.
Okay, and what are those differences that you feel between public school and a boarding school or a private school? Because there are differences.
Oh, they're huge differences.
Yes.
I think you can get a good education anywhere, and you can squander one anywhere. So it depends on what you bring, what your attitude is.
Yes.
In general, especially in a boarding school, there's a built-in family, a built-in not so much restrictions and boundaries, but everybody's doing the same thing. So there are set times to do homework and set times to play, and you really do some bonding in a boarding school. It's phenomenal.
It is.
Whether it's co-ed or single sex.
And that framework that you're talking about, where there are set times for this. I remember at Ohio State, where I graduated back in the 60s, leaving the dormitory and going into a sorority where times were set. And if you didn't make those decisions to use that time wisely, you were in trouble. Whether you were in a dorm, whether you were in a private accommodation, or you were in a sorority house. I noticed, Ruth, I lived in New York State for 28 years, that whenever I walked into a physician's or office or a dental office or someplace that was professional, every mother there was talking about school, academics.
Interesting.
It made an impression on me for the first time, realizing that depending on different areas where you live in this country or you live out of the country, there's a different take on education. And at that time, during the 1980s and the 1990s, education was still uppermost in those families' minds. And they do care what kind and where their children go. And their expectations are very high.
Oh, huge priority.
Do you
I think it came first.
Do you think there's too much priority?
Now or then?
Now. Well, not back then I would have said no. But now, society here, our culture is in constant change. And as we're going to talk about, you represent a very fine school system, which is
Lake Tahoe School in Incline Village, Nevada.
Yes. And so as an administrator, as a teacher, as an educator for many years, how do we try to correlate, if we can, what's happening with education today as opposed to, let's say, of 25 years ago? Where are we going right, and where might we be taking some valued time to think with question marks? Is this the right pace? Is this the right place? The right curriculum?
Not a simple question.
No,
but it's fascinating. I've been in education as a teacher, administrator this is my 42nd year. So I've gone through some significant changes.
Yes, you have.
Yes, I have. And there have been some fundamental changes in focus over the years. I think it's gotten much less simple, and that's good and bad. I mean, we've learned a lot more about learning styles, about children's interests. I think we are far more flexible about what every child brings to the table, and yet in doing so, we also open a door to what we need to provide.
I don't know whether we would say it's like opening Pandora's box.
I was thinking that.
But
there's a bit of Pandora there.
There's a bit there.
Right.
I remember in May of 1970, I was at Kent State University with my husband.
May 4th.
And we were in lockdown because of the protests that were going on at Kent State University. And after that really tumultuous time, I felt as a teacher that the authority, the decision-making processes were being transferred 100% from administrators and teachers, educators, into the hands and the feelings and the thinkings of young people.
Right.
So we had a situation where they were demanding more liberalness, more autonomy in making their selections of what they wanted to do. And we were still trying to hang on to what we hoped would be the good part, not sacrifice the good part. But do you find that our teaching skills in the classroom and as teachers, young teachers coming in or veteran teachers, have we lost some of our teaching ability by giving over more liberal attitudes?
That's a fascinating question, because I think we have become much better teachers, those of us who are good and those of us who study it. We've become much more facile at what we do, in knowing what kids bring to the table and knowing how to teach a much broader range of child. And consequently, we hope to tap into interests. I think it's all about relationships. We think back to when we were students, and I look at teachers now, and the effective teachers are ones who connect as students.
Yes.
I think when we started teaching, we had to discover those things, because it was only
it's a process.
we could only take from our own experiences.
Yes.
I was lucky to have a lot of really terrific teachers. I think now colleges of education and schools give greater exposure to a broader range of doing things. By the same token, there's so many choices, and people feel they have educated opinions on things when I'm not sure that going to school means you're an expert. We wouldn't do that in a doctor's office, a lawyer's office, and you don't go in and say, here's how I think you should do things.
And I agree with that. And that's one of my fears as a retired teacher, but I'm still teaching in many ways.
Of course.
Is that we used to trust the opinion of our physicians.
Yeah.
We used to trust the studies and the dental work of our professional dentists, and we used to trust those administrators in education and even elsewhere because of their years of research, their years of experience. In working with the public. And now, when new ideas from the younger generations come in, I'm prone to think about what they're saying. I'm listening, but I'm saying there's no way to gain experience except go through that journey, take the journey. And I thought in my first couple of weeks when I was just starting teaching, I was...
Scary times.
Yeah, I had seniors. They were 18. I was 22. I only had 4 years.
And young and attractive, yes.
Yeah, we had to deal with that too.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I said to myself, you know what? I really need to try and stay one step ahead of them. And the work that I bring in, my preparation time, and my thinking time, because they're going to challenge me. But I liked that challenge.
Right.
And I wanted them to have confidence and trust in their teacher in the classroom. And that's a process. We're going to come back to these questions. I have even more. Okay, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. We'll see you right after the break. Don't go away.
Join us at the Carson Nugget for The Prize is Right, our 3 million point swipe and win giveaway happening every Sunday through Thursday. You can win up to 100,000 points instantly at our kiosk, and all you have to do is swipe. Only at the Carson Nugget.
Hi, I'm Stephen Lincoln with CarsonCityHomes.com, Carson City's original online real estate resource.
At CarsonCityHomes.com, you get effective and easy-to-use tools to help you select your next home today. With our easy-to-use website, you can search listings throughout Northern Nevada and narrow the results by selecting every facet, quirk, and quality you desire. Visit CarsonCityHomes.com.
Apex SCF provides cutting-edge, hands-on training that effectively addresses today's threats of violence.
The Apex Stay Alive course teaches proven methods for personal protection and attack countermeasures that can be applied in any environment. In your home, at the workplace, or on campus, Apex will teach you the necessary skills to stay alive, including how to recognize and react to an active shooter scenario.
If you knew you had to fight for your life tomorrow, would you train today? Contact us now to sign up for a class in your region.
Are you ready? Football is back, and it's your turn to score with Carson Nuggets Touchdown to Cash drawings, where you can win up to $50,000. Come down every Friday and Saturday for your chance to win big.
Working together,
we can protect your home. Replace that old shingle roof with a fire-resistant alternative. Keep it and your rain gutters clean.
Do the same for your deck and consider installing screening in the open areas underneath.
And store your firewood at least 30 feet away from your home.
One ember can destroy your home. Take our advice and your home can survive.
Will your community survive?
Visit livingwithfire.info for more tips to save your home.
Welcome back to the second half of Women to Women. We're here with Ruth Glass, who is working with the Incline school system here in Incline Village. And we're going to get back to Ruth in just a few seconds. But first, I'd like to thank carsonnow.org, who is the sponsor, one of our co-sponsors here for the second half of the program. And that is the place to go on the internet. If you want to know what's happening in Carson City and the surrounding neighborhoods 24/7, carsonnow.org. We'd also like to thank the Nevada Appeal and the Record Courier. They're always supportive of local businesses, and they urge us always to shop locally, give those small businesses all of the loyalty and the appearance, okay, that you can, because we depend upon them. They are the backbone of America. So let's return to Ruth and our conversation, and it's focusing now on education. Ruth, again, welcome back.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
We were talking the first half of, we have seen changes, and as you said, after 42 years in education, that's 4 decades plus.
Yeah. In my 5th, I guess it is. Yes, it is.
Yes, and so we know that with generations, with our children, with our grandchildren, they're always exposed to things that we're having to learn about afresh or to catch up with them on. And certainly technology has been a big part of that innovation. I wanted to ask you, how did you arrive on your journey in education to Incline?
At Lake Tahoe School?
Yes.
Which is an independent school. We have 150 children here in Incline Village, and I have worked at a number of independent schools around the country. Actually, this is my 9th school. I've been in Arizona and Maryland and Colorado and Ohio and California and now Nevada.
All right, for our listening audience, can you help us understand what is an independent school?
Independent school is a school that's a nonprofit school run by an independent board of trustees. It is, we belong to an association. In our case, it's the Northwest Association of Independent Schools.
Okay.
So we are accredited by an independent body made up of our peers. Right. But we are definitely not for profit. We do charge a tuition.
Yes.
And we have a bit more freedom to create our own curriculum and select our own teachers. We don't have such a thing as tenure, things like that. So
okay.
It's a distinct difference. There are pluses and minuses to such a system.
There are. And your responsibilities per se are what?
I am pretty much in charge of anything that happens on campus. I am the principal. Okay. And there is no one over me other than the Board of Trustees. And they make a very clear distinction between what is academic and what is financial. They are the visionaries for the school who help us determine where we want to go. I'm in charge with the faculty and administration of program.
Okay, so you're a very busy lady.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and my next question obviously is going to be for not only the younger women out there, but for women who are right in the midst of their careers. How do you balance your personal life, your family life, with your school, your career, your professional life?
Well, I have old children, and that's part of what happens.
But you didn't always have old children.
No, I did not always have old children, and interestingly enough, I was going to... my assumption was that I would graduate from college and get a job so I would have something to back up.
Right.
Once I got married and had
Your
children, we are of that generation.
We are.
And then I ended up, it was Vietnam time, and my husband was in the Navy, and I ended up dropping out of college after my sophomore year and ultimately returned to school because I realized I was expendable. So I returned, graduated from the University of Maryland 4 weeks after I had our second daughter. So it was a little off schedule, but it gave me the opportunity to explore and realized who I was and what I cared about. And while our girls were young, I did work the entire time that they were growing up. And teaching was a wonderful job at that point, not only because I loved the classroom, but I did have breaks with them. So I would have spring break and Christmas break in the summers. And I got to know their friends intimately, which was very nice.
Yes.
I elected to become an administrator after they got to the middle school and high school age.
Okay.
That was how I balanced a bit more. But it was hard
when
they were young.
And there's more education that has to come with that administrative degree. Yes.
Absolutely.
Because more responsibility comes. But it's great, I think, when an administrator has that classroom experience.
Oh, it's a huge difference.
And I have worked in school systems where my administrators did not have classroom experience and those who did. And there's a vast difference in understanding. Those of us who are in the classrooms, sometimes we call them in the trenches, okay?
Right,
because
right.
you really are knocking about with relationships, with planning, with counseling. You wear many different hats.
Every teacher does.
Yes.
And so to be an administrator who appreciates that, understands the behind-the-scenes work that teachers put in, the hours at home, it's significant. Plus, I think I can mentor and advise better having been through
Absolutely.
it. But when periodically I will sub in a class, which I love. I love to keep my hand in it.
Yes.
Kids, if I haven't taught them before, at the end of the period, they go, Mrs. Glass, you're a good teacher. And I was a little shocked.
Well, and that's a high compliment coming from a
It
student. Yes.
keeps me honest. If they stop saying that, I better figure out how to deal with it.
That's right. All right, Ruth, as an educator to an educator, I keep wondering, what are the goals that you want to continue to set, standards that you believe in and that you're not willing to compromise on? And it's a difficult role, it's a difficult project, because the world out there is saying one thing in many ways, and your heart and your mind and your experience are saying, well, yes, to some part, I want my students to be prepared when they leave every single class, to go out there in the world and not have the world frighten the heck out of them.
Right.
On the other hand, I want them to take seriously and hopefully give time to their thoughts, give time to their decisions, because there are consequences to our decisions.
Right.
And what do you see as the goals for you as an educator and as administrator for the school system?
And as that modeling, I think two things. We have a very strong character education program at Lake Tahoe School, and we focus on honesty, integrity, and respect. And that is not only for kids, but it's students with their teachers, teachers with parents, the whole everybody. So anytime we make a decision, we try and keep that central to that. And we do a lot of outdoor ed, and we do a lot of enrichment things that sort of support that. By the same token, it's our responsibility to prepare them, as you suggest, for high school and college beyond. I don't think we have any parents who come to us who don't assume their child's going to go to college at some point. So we better lay that groundwork right from the beginning. And it gets back to something you said earlier about that work ethic. You and I were raised in a time and a place where the work ethic was most important.
Yes.
And if I can convey one central value, it's that if you work hard and you care about, take pride in what you're doing, then you can be successful everywhere. And sometimes parents want to let kids off. I think that's a difference. My parents, they were not going to give me an excuse for not doing something.
Yes.
There were twice in my educational experience, 2 times where a teacher treated me unfairly, only twice. And my father and mother made it clear they would go in and speak on my behalf. And I didn't need them to, because I knew they believed me. And every other time, if there was a criticism from a teacher, I just better get my little act together.
Yes, yes. I can remember my mother, on a couple of occasions, I would come home, I was very upset, emotionally upset about something that had happened, in a teacher, in a public setting, etc. And I conveyed that to her. She said, and I'll get back to you, I need to talk with that teacher. I need to have the whole story, Carol. And I thought, well, you know, okay, things are not exactly going to work out maybe the way I thought they were, because she and my father both highly regarded what was happening in the classroom, and they trusted who I had as educators, who I had as teachers, to do the right thing with all of us in the classroom. So I agree with you. The work ethic and the parenting that goes along or doesn't go along with that today is a challenge for all of us.
We were talking a little bit earlier, you and I, about where we sought our mentors, where we sought advice when we were young parents, as well as teachers. Right. And I think now people are more inclined to read books or go to some show or something to ask the experts, rather than asking the people they know who've already demonstrated that they're good parents or good teachers. That's a change.
That's a change, yes.
And the other thing is that I've worked with thousands of children in my life, my own two included, who are well into adulthood. And considering my own youth, there are times when we present our side of things and we're just wanting someone to believe us. I think parents who always believe their child's side without checking do them a disservice.
They certainly do.
You've got a child who figures they can tell their parent anything and they'll never question is in danger.
It's a license.
Oh, yes.
That a parent gives a child to treat a future employer, a future corporation, a future job interview with dishonesty,
right,
rather than your real self, your real person that you can be, that you could be.
Absolutely, and the message my parents and yours too gave us is they trusted us. They were going to double check to see what the other side of the story might be, and I think that's something that I brought from them to teaching and administrating. There's always at least one more side of the story, and chances are good each of them has a bit of truth to them.
And I think probably indirectly you're saying that when you take a look at new staff, hiring new staff, you're looking for those qualities that you know are fundamental to the classroom and to success in relationships. Yes.
And who are there for the children. I always ask teacher applicants, what's the best thing and the worst thing about them? It's always interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Because if someone can't give me a balanced picture, I'm not interested.
I remember those initial questions by one of the first administrators I ever had. And I had just graduated from Ohio State, and I felt like I was as liberal as they come from this university. And Superintendent William Pease said to me, "You're about as conservative as anybody I've ever interviewed." I know your family. Took care of that.
Family to the table.
So, well, you know, it's been a pleasure to have you with us, and your insightfulness, your dedication to what you do, not only as a mother and I'm sure as a wife, but as a person who cares about every single child in that school and probably knows all of them by first and last name. Okay.
Of course.
We say thank you very much. And
well,
you are making a difference
so much.
in Northern Nevada.
I love what I do, and so I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I can do what I love,
and
even when I'm working hard.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
very
for being
much.
with
I
us.
enjoyed it.
And we'll be back with you next week with another very special lady. We hope you enjoyed this evening's program. I certainly did. Take care. Have a good night.
Pets of the Homeless is a non-profit, all-volunteer organization that provides pet food and veterinary care to the homeless and less fortunate in local communities.
We're a national organization with over 200 collection sites across the United States, one in Australia and a few in Canada. Our national organization, since 2008, we've collected almost 50 tons of pet food that has been distributed through various organizations across the country, like food banks, homeless shelters, and soup dining rooms. With donations from the public, we are able to provide these kinds of wellness clinics across the country. Since 2008, our wellness clinics have provided over 2,500 animals with shots and medical care.
I'm Dr. Woody Allen. I'm a semi-retired veterinarian in Carson City, and I have worked with the Pets of the Homeless for about 4 or 5 years now. And when Genevieve Frederick started the program, our hospital was the first hospital to help her with collecting dog food and finding people that needed our help. On this website, you'll be able to find sources where you can get food on a regular basis if you need it.
With donations from the public, we're able to provide homeless shelters with crates, bowls, cleaning materials, so that homeless with pets can come into homeless shelters and get the services that they need to get out of homelessness.
If you are in need of food, supplies, or services for your pet, or would like to donate or volunteer, visit petsofthehomeless.org.